Okay, hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to your last tutorial class. So for today, we have 3 presentations to finish, but that's about it. After all of the presentation is done, there's one event that I would like to promote for a bit. If you would like to join, which is going to be good as well for your co-curricular studies, but that one I'll talk about at the end of the class. We'll prioritize the presentations first, since we have 3 more, and I think we should be able to finish all of the presentations by the end of today's class. And for today's presenter, we have 3 groups, Group B, E, and also Group F. We are going to begin with Group B, but for all of the 3 groups presenting today, if you need permission to share the screen, please let me know. So I'll give you permission right away. But if you do not need any permission, it's fine. Okay, but for today's presentation, we'll begin with Group B first. Is Group B present? Is everyone from Group B present?
I believe so, sir.
You have 7 members, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, since you have 7 members, I am going to give you an additional 5 minutes. Like I told you a couple of weeks ago, it's up to you. You can use it if you want to. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. But since you have extra 5 minutes, I'll remind you in the meeting chat from minute 10, 15, 20, and 25. But if you don't need to use it, it's fine.
Okay.
All right. So let's have all of the presenters to get ready now.
Okay, sir.
So Samfong came prepared with a cup of tea. Okay, wait, who's the other member? I see 6 of you now. Wait. Oh, okay. Cheng Yu, your cam. Okay, all right. Now I can see you. All right. So are you all ready?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 25 minutes since you have extra member for your group. So we'll begin with your presentation right now. All the best, everyone, and the upcoming groups as well. Okay, good luck, and let's begin with your presentation first.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Morning Tea with Ruth. Here today, we have not 1, not 2, but 6 special guests. After a viral post that was made on Instagram, we were able to have Mr. Cheng Yu here with us, with his beloved mother. According to the post that he made, it made him the talk of the town. And on the post, he also associated people as Mr. Seng Fong, who is here today accompanied with Mr. Vincent. But we also had the honors to have an educational meeting here, and we were able to have Mr. Nathan, who is also accompanied by the Honorable Minister of Education, Miss Tina. Moving on, at this point, you must have an idea of what this episode is all about. A viral post on Instagram that was made said, "Is formal education the only way to succeed?" And because of that statement, a lot of people had different opinions. So I would like to hear from Mr. Chang. What made you make that post? And please brief us about it.
Thank you, Miss Ruth. Hi, everyone. As you all have seen on my latest Instagram post, I have posted that my parents are against my dream. My purpose in posting this story is because I do not understand the reason on why tertiary education is the only way to a successful life. Is chasing your dreams considered being wrong? Let me explain my dream in more detail. My dream is being a full-time YouTuber. I want to travel around the world, make vlogs, learn new things, broaden my knowledge, make new friends around the world, and learn their cultures.
Okay, I think Cheng Yu is lagging. Perhaps. Okay, 1 second. Okay, Cheng Yu. I think you are lagging.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes. Do you want to start over with your part?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's start over with your part.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Ruth. As you all may have seen through my latest Instagram post, I posted that my parents are against my dreams of being a full-time YouTuber. My purpose in posting this story is because I do not understand the reason on why tertiary education is being the only way to a successful life. Education. Look at them making it big in the industry. I want someone to agree with me that people do not necessarily need tertiary education to be successful in life. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. We can hear you now. All right, Cheng Yu. Before
Great.
we continue, you might want to restart your teams. Let's try to do that because you keep on lagging. Okay. Perhaps. Do you want to wait for Cheng Yu restart all over again, or do you want to proceed with the next speaker first, Ruth?
Miss, sir, can we just like go for the next team? We can let others first, and we wait Chang Yu to get ready everything.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with the next team first.
Yeah.
Cheng Yu, try to double check. Wait, I think Cheng Yu is out. Maybe after this, if it's still lagging, let's try to have your cam to only be turned on when you are speaking if it's still lagging. But let's move on to the next team first. All right. We'll redo your presentation after this.
Okay, great.
Okay. Let's move on to the next team first. Is Group E present?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Group E, you have 6 members. Let's go with your group first. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's have your group to present first while Cheng Yu fixes what's going on with his internet and Teams.
Okay.
Okay, so all 6 members are present. Okay, I know you were not expecting this, but are you at least ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's begin with your presentation. Very sorry, everyone. Okay. But let's proceed with your presentation first. All right. Okay. So you may begin first. All the best.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Bunny, and I'm the moderator of today's webinar. So we're going to be talking about the scenario of gaming addiction in Malaysia and all over the world. And right now, I'm going to introduce to you the members. But before I introduce the members, I'll give a brief explanation on the gaming addiction. According to the research, it has been found out that there has been an increase in the rate of gaming addiction all over Malaysia and all over the whole world. This is because of the COVID-19 pandemic that rose in 2019 throughout the whole 2022. And due to this pandemic, the rates have gotten up because there are increased movement controls, and therefore people are not able to move. And teenagers resorted to only playing video games online and being addicted to social media. So right now, I'm going to introduce the 5 guests that we have today. So guest number 1, we have Mr. Axel, who's a parent representative. Then we have Mr. Kwa, who is the CEO of a game developer company. Then we have 2 student representatives from Asia Pacific University, that is Moon Heng and Harold. And then we have a counselor teacher from Asia Pacific University, Mr. Saad. So right now I would like to welcome Mr. Axel, the parent representative, to talk about his view on gaming addiction.
Okay, thanks Mr. Benny for giving us the introduction of gaming addiction on teenagers. So now, let me give my points on our title. In my points, I think that gaming addiction can be defined as a people who addicted on video games until he's unable to control himself. So, in an Asian family, we can commonly hear some sentences which is, "Ah boy, do you finish your homework? Can you finish your homework before playing games?" This is because parents, Asian parents, want to make sure their children to perform well in their study. As a parent, I clearly understand that the children at 12 to 18 years old need more freedom on their personal things. But some teenagers will wrongly use the freedom until they're getting addicted to the video games.
Well, Mr. Axel, as a parent, what do you think can be the action or actions that can be taken to curb down or bring down the gaming addiction among children?
So, as a parent, we need to provide a correct mindset to our children, which is playing video games are not wrong, but we need to control ourselves to avoid getting addicted on it. An example technique that I will provide to my children is list down our daily tasks that we need to complete. By listing them down, children can clarify the prioritized tasks and they can play video games after they finish their task. I will not stop my children from playing video games, but they need to take their responsibility as a student to focus on their study.
Well, thank you. I think that's a very good strategy. And well, I think I can also apply it to my children in the future. So right now, let's have a view from the CEO of a game developer company, Mr. Kwa.
Thank you, Mr. Benny. So as a game developer, we plan, design, and create games. Recently, my company is planning to develop a new FPS-based game, and I'm glad to be here and share my opinions. FPS games are called first-person shooting games, and it is a game based on shooting and other weapon-based combats from a first-person perspective. The players experience through the eyes of the characters in the games, like Call of Duty or Veterans. Most games bring benefits. However, how can games benefit us? It all depends on how we play the games. By playing video games, we will be able to have a better thinking, a better vision, and a better relationship with other people. First of all, our thinking skills can be used on thinking strategies when playing FPS game. With different goals or tasks, we may need to consider different ways and decisions to complete the task or winning the game. We can apply it to our daily lives too. For example, we can seek for solutions when we face some difficulties. Second, a good vision by the players when playing FPS game are needed to spot important details such as enemies or items. By playing FPS game, we were able to spot things easily because we were trained to receive very important information or details which we didn't use much in our daily lives. Lastly, we can improve our relationship between friends and family, or when making some new friends. When playing FPS game, we might need to assist and support each other as a team. With a better communication, connection, and collaboration with other players, we can have a better understanding about them. FPS games surely bring benefits to people, and if you want to know more about games, you can get in touch with some famous game. So be sure to check out for our new FPS game.
Well, having heard from the parent representative and the CEO of the game developer company, well, it can be seen that video games have benefits and they also have drawbacks depending on how you actually control your time in playing the games. So right now, I would like to also introduce the student representative, Monhang, to give us his opinion on video games.
Thank you, Mr. Benny. As a student, I strongly agree the parents' representative view. It is one of the points that we should follow. Just like most of the students, I have been addicted to video games during the past. But as time passed, I realized that my result become lower than before and I cannot recall what the teacher taught us in school. So I choose to limit my playing time and focus on what I should do. After experiencing this, I believe that students should spend time more on studying but not on playing video games. It will cause some serious problem if having long hours of playing daily.
Well, Monhang, you're talking about problems. Can you share with us some of the problems that can be faced due to playing video games all the time?
Of course, excessive playing time will have a negative impact in our real life and will continue to damage our lifestyle as we are always playing games. It is difficult to get enough active play and exercise. The issue we face are lack of exercise and it causes us to become overweight and get an unhealthy lifestyle. So, video games can also affect other important things such as friendship and academic performance in school as students cannot focus on class. We should use our free time for playing it instead of when we have an assignment to do. Students will lose communication with their family and have less concentration on interpersonal interaction. The relationship between them becomes like strangers but not family. So, what we should do is create a proper timetable and follow the timetable if necessary. Play at an appropriate time and engage in some healthy activity during free time instead of playing games. Now, let us welcome Arrow opinions on video games.
I agree with Mr. Manghang's point. However, video games may also help us learn some new skills. There are many skills you can learn from gaming, such as quick thinking, processing information quickly, and the skills to think about a number of things at the same time. In shooting games, the character may be running and shooting at the same time. There are some studies suggest that most expert gamer children can make choices up to 6 times a second and 4 times faster than most people. They can pay more attention without getting confused. There are also many games that have strategy and puzzle genre, which is want us to think to solve the problem in the game. It needs accurate of our mind in order not to lose. It will benefit in real life for students or children if they are faced by a problem. Apart from students' learning process, game also can increase concentrating of mind and sometimes increase our language vocabularies. In fact, they also have many benefits for children and students in real life too.
Well, you're saying there are benefits in real life. Well, if you don't mind, can you share with us some of the benefits outside outside the gaming situation? You can give us benefits of gaming in real life too.
Yeah, sure. Video games have found their users in schools as well as medical profession, and the effects that they have made in these are certainly significant. Video games can be naturally used for teaching due to their interactive nature. They provide an effective teaching tools for schools. These schools use video games to engage children in an activity which requires them to perform tasks repeated for their learning and rewarded for their skills. Furthermore, video games have also been seen as a great help for children who are suffering from psychological problems such as lack of self-confidence. For example, psychological therapists have used video games as part of their treatment for children with such psychological problems. Besides, video games have many positive effects in students' learning process, and it has also benefits in real life too. For instance, when you play the video game, it makes you think and increase your logic.
Well, thank you, Harold and Munhang, for your opinions on video game addiction. Well, right now we shall move on to the counselor. Well, Mr. Saad, as a counselor in the school, have you come across cases whereby students are addicted to video games?
Sure, Ben. Let me share some few cases that I came across. One of the sample cases is a university student who was a top 10 student in the secondary school. When he entered in the university, his parents bought him a computer and he became the addict of video games and also of social media. As a result, he got failed in his first exam. After he got failed, he came to me and asked me for some advice. So here is some advice for teenagers to prevent them spending more time on video games. Teenagers in their free time should cultivate some hobbies. For example, they need to do cycling, reading, and gardening, and etc. These hobbies can avoid kids to just spend most of their time on video games and it will increase their extra knowledge. Now I am coming towards the parents. Parents should also take responsibility for their children as they need to encourage their children to participate in co-curricular activities, whether it is in school, college, or university. It will increase children's children's social and leadership skills, and it will be beneficial for their children in the future. As a counselor, I'm not encouraging children to spend more than 2 hours on video games as it will affect their body health. That's all for me. Thank you.
So, Mr. Kwok, according to what you tell us just now, your company is developing a FPS game. I have a short question. FPS game will influence teenagers in few aspects. Example, teenagers will have increased aggressive behavior and thoughts. Some sample cases that happen around us is teenagers will imitate the character in the real world and will hurt people around them. So, what is the improvement for your company will have in the future to avoid these cases happen again?
Well, for now, our company are running a system which is age verification system. Through this system, users who are underage are not allowed to play violent game. In all of our products, we will state different age limit for different types of game. However, we received some feedbacks from the parents. They mentioned that their underage children still can play the games with the age verification system. So in the future, we are going to improve this system by adding a new feature, the face identification, which is the user needs to verify their identification with their face. By adding this new feature, users need to complete the face identification before playing the game.
So, thank you, Mr. Kwok.
Well, thank you all for your contribution. And before I give a final review and conclusion on our webinar, I would like you to have, or if I would like to ask, if any of you has a question to ask, then you can forward it and then we'll give you a solution.
Okay, if you have any questions, you may ask the speakers. But I have a question. All right, let's say in the 21st century or in 2021, there has been an increase of demand when it comes to game streamers and people who do it professionally. What advice do you want to give for people who want to pursue gaming as their career? Any advices?
Well, I think we shall have Mr. Kwa to help us on that. Mr. Kwa, what advice do you have for someone who wants to take gaming as a career?
For those who want to take gaming as a career, you should
I think I can answer the question.
Okay, sure, Mr.
Okay. So, as a parent, if my children want to add like a gamer and as a career as a game player, I think if that playing games is their hobby, and when they are young, I can send them to some training class we are while we are studying, we have a tuition class for study class. Then at playing games, I think they have a training class for the players who want to be a pro gamers. So I will send them to the class and have the training at there. But The children also need to focus on their study too before they become a pro gamer.
Okay, I hope that has answered your question.
Okay, yes, thank you. And if there's no more question, you can proceed to Q&A.
Uh,
Not Q&A, conclusion, I mean, sorry.
Okay, sure. So after having a review of each and everybody's opinion, well, come to a conclusion that video games have benefits and they also have the bad side. Just like everything always has an advantage and a disadvantage. So what I would say is too much of anything is always bad, and too much time spent on video games is actually not healthy. So what I would advise everyone is that you should have time outside playing video games. Yeah, I know they're addictive, but still you can lay some little time off so you can decide to have more time on playing outdoor activities, which are actually more healthy and they help you in your physical fitness. Or you can also concentrate on other things to do. And if you don't have them, then, well, the outdoor activities would be an option. Thank you all, and that's all we had for our webinar today.
Okay, all right. Thank you for all of the speakers. Let's move on to the feedback first. As usual, we'll talk about the negative/improvements first. Okay, in terms of the content, there was some grammatical error in the script that I noticed. What I noticed was there were a couple of parts where some of you tend to put S in the word people, making it more plural. Always remember, people is already plural. We do not say as peoples. So always double check that, because there were a couple of parts where some speakers did that earlier. But that's just a minor thing. Okay, but overall, in terms of your content, I thought it was a great discussion in terms of ethos and logos. There were a lot of good arguments, I feel, with relevant examples. And when you are talking about gaming in general, I mean, as a fellow gamer myself, I find it very easy and it does sound believable on the content. You do sound like you know what you're talking about, which is very good when we are talking about a topic like this, because most of your friends probably they know it as well. So I thought your credibility was great. The discussion was great, but be a bit prepared when it comes to gaming, because this is quite a simple topic in my opinion. So you have to be prepared. Like at the end, Zanho, when you froze during the Q&A, what's going on? Was it anxiety or were you thinking of answers? What's going on?
I cannot think of any answers.
Okay, so
I think it was just too abrupt for you.
Too abrupt. Okay, I understand. But in a presentations like this, or in a group presentations or presentations in general, you have to be a little bit more ready. And I don't think that question was difficult. If let's say I gave like a very complicated question, I would have understood. But in my opinion, that's quite a simple question. You could have just mentioned a little bit on how we can be a gamer, maybe training when we are young. Simple things like what Excel mentioned earlier, which is good. So I thought that part kind of decreases a little bit on your credibility. Up until that point, I was convinced all of you know what you're talking about. But at that part, when you froze, of course, I understand it's abrupt, it's sudden. It's probably making you panic a little bit. But you have to come up with some kind of answers. Simple ones will do. And usually when things they are abrupt or sudden like this, you can just give something cliche or something that sounds common, or the first thing that pops in your mind. So you have to be a little bit quick on your feet, especially when you have presentations like this, because there will be Q&A. And when you go to next semester, there will be a couple more modules where they're going to ask very difficult questions. Like one of them is going to be academic research skills. I think you know you're going to take that in semester 3. So you might want to be a bit more prepared when you go to semester 3, because most presentations in semester 3, they are going to ask you difficult questions, and you have to be a bit quick on your thinking. So my suggestion is, if you can, maybe just prepare some possible questions that you feel is relevant to the topic that you're discussing, to kind of prepare you if you feel like, okay, I might feel a bit nervous during Q&A. So let's think of some questions that might be asked by the audience or by the lecturer, so that you can kind of be prepared as well. That's probably a good way to prepare every member in a group presentation. Okay, but it's still a great argument, I feel. Logos was also very strong. There was abundant use of logos and factual information. There was a lot of terms that you use that, in my opinion, even though they are technical terms a little bit, but you explain it well. So that was good. Pathos, however, I think it was lacking a little bit. There were a lot of moments where I thought we could have made the discussion a bit more convincing in terms of feelings and emotions. But pathos, that part is not as strong as ethos and logos. Like when we are talking about gaming addiction, this is something very relatable to your friends and to even me myself. But I was not able to be persuaded in terms of how severe this is. Most of it is probably due to intonation, that's one. And number two, most speakers sounded inauthentic. So what I mean by this is, there were a lot of parts where you were saying simple things. Like, for example, you had a lot of back and forth. And there were a lot of parts where you are thanking another speaker, for example. But the way you said thank you, it sounded so rehearsed. It does not sound like a discussion. So simple things like this really decrease from the audience thinking that, oh, this is a discussion. It does not sound like that. It sounds like this is a script that you have prepared. You are basically following the script 100%. So make sure when you have simple interactions like questions, simple things like thanking the other speakers, intonation needs to be there. I understand if, let's say, during your part or during your speech, there are moments where you are a little bit flat. It's fine, because that is a bit more difficult to improve, because it depends on your fluency. But make sure when you have simple interactions like that, when you have questions, when you are thanking another person, when you are greeting another person, that intonation is quite simple to integrate here. So I want you to start simple from there. When you have those simple interaction, make sure you change the intonation a little bit, because there were a few moments earlier where different speakers were thanking someone who just spoke earlier, but the way that was delivered was very flat. So overall, delivery I thought was quite flat. It was not monotonous for most speaker, but it sounded way too rehearsed. I do not think you were reading 100%. I think you were referring to the script, but probably you relied too much on the script to the point that it sounded a bit more way too rehearsed. So we have to be a bit more spontaneous at different parts. And there was a lot of turn taking earlier, and I like that. There was a lot of interaction between speakers, but like I said, it did not sound very much believable because of the intonation. So we have to really make sure the intonation first sounds a bit more believable. Okay, so overall, the good things is I thought the introduction was good. The topic was introduced well. And when you were introducing the speakers, that was also good. Their background was introduced well. I think it was enough to make me know who these speakers are. So the introduction was quite good in my opinion. And like I said earlier, the content, ethos and logos are great. Okay, but pathos is lacking a little bit. In terms of delivery, I like the organization. I like the turn taking, but we have to increase the intonation a little bit so that it sounds a bit more believable. And Harold, Next semester, you might want to present in a place where we can actually see you, because right now we can see everyone clearly, but for you, it's like a shadow. I can kind of see your nose, your eyes here and there, but next semester you might want to be somewhere, I don't know, brighter, because it looks like we are interacting with the shadow. So Harold, next semester, um, I don't know if you're in Malaysia, or if you're sharing a room, you cannot turn on the light maybe. But if you cannot turn on the light, just get your phone, turn on the flashlight or something, so that we can at least see a little bit of you. It looks so jarring, like everyone we can see clearly, and then your part is like a shadow that's moving. So make sure we can see you a bit more clearly. So do that next semester. And I think I've told you this during individual presentation. So make sure third semester a bit, I mean, make sure we can see you a bit more. Okay, moving on to Bunny. As the moderator, I think you did a great job. You asked great questions, I feel, and you also provided simple summary after or almost after every speaker, which is great because it allows us to process what everyone has said. But be careful with some of the questions that you phrase. There were a couple of questions. The structure is incorrect in terms of grammar. It sounds a bit more informal. There were a couple, but most of them I thought was good. And you also had great intonation as the moderator. In my opinion, you're the only presenter that kind of bring elements of interaction during the whole discussion, because you actually had intonation when you were speaking. Very good job. So you might want to help your friends as well. If you are still in the same group, maybe you can interact with them more so that we can improve a little bit more on the intonation, because the others, you still sound a bit rehearsed, at times a bit flat. So we can look at how Bunny was interacting earlier. Okay, but Bunny, one thing that I want you to be aware of, even though you had great intonation, when you are listening to other speakers though, your facial expression, okay, I know it's how you look, but you just look so disinterested when everyone was speaking. It's like you did not care what everyone was talking about. You look borderline angry. I know our face can look like that in, when we are not having any expression. So I want you to have a little bit of expression on your face, maybe a little bit of smile once in a while, or maybe just nodding, because earlier what you did was you were basically zoning out. I think you were looking at, I don't know, maybe your wall or something, and you look so pissed, or you look so angry, and if you look like that, that's also going to affect everyone, because you are such an important role in a presentation like this. So facial expression. I'm not asking you to smile all the time, because there are a lot of parts earlier that definitely you shouldn't smile, because we are talking about addiction. But you could have looked a bit more approachable, I feel.
Yeah, sure, sir. I know that's my bad.
Yeah, but I'm not asking you to like smile like throughout the presentation, because that's weird as well. Once in a while, maybe. And you could have a bit more playfulness as well with the way that you're interacting with the speakers, because you look way too serious. And that can kind of affect everyone as well in general. And because you were such a big part of the presentation, it was noticeable. If let's say you are one of the speakers, probably not noticeable, but I was paying attention to you most of the time because you had the most part, so it was noticeable earlier. So facial expression, all right?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay.
That was my problem, I know.
All right.
I wasn't so focused on seeing the speakers, so that's why I ended up with that facial expression. But next time I'll do better.
Yeah, sure. Just a simple nod, or once in a while, you can have a little bit of smile here and there so that you look a bit more approachable. Okay. All right. So overall, as a group, I thought your content was quite good. Your pathos was a bit weak. There were moments in the script that I thought the pathos was present, but the delivery was a little bit weak in terms of the intonation part. It does not sound very believable, But as a content, it was still a good discussion because there were a lot of moments where you had great credibility. Okay, but Zanho, be prepared for Q&A session next semester. Do not just freeze out. And it's also a very good presentation because you provided a lot of factual information. And all of this is something that we can check right now. And I'm pretty sure most of your information are correct and reliable. So that's great. So as a discussion, I thought it was good. It was decent. We just need to bring in the intonation so it sounds believable when you are interacting. And this is not just a one person responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. All right, so let's work on the intonation a little bit and the small interaction when you are interacting with another speaker in your group. Okay, thank you everyone. Okay, congratulations for a good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, okay, shall we move back to group B?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, wait, let's check on Cheng Yu first. Cheng Yu, is everything fine?
Yes, everything is okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if let's say it lags again after this, here's what we'll do. If once we begin it lags again, I just want everyone else that's not currently speaking, just turn off your camera. If let's say any of the member is lagging again, if it does not lag, remain your camera. We do not need to turn it off. But if it lags again, we'll restart that portion. Or if it's too late in the presentation, everyone else just turn off your camera, just so that we can allow a little bit more of a faster connection. Okay, so are you all ready? Okay, so let's start from the beginning again. Okay, all the best, everyone.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Morning Tea Show with Ruth. Today we have not only one, not two, but 6 special guests. We are honored to have Mr. Cheng Yu, a person who has gone viral after a specific post that he made on Instagram. He's here with us today with his beloved mother, Miss Uzma. Moving on to Mr. Sang Fong, who is a successful entrepreneur, who is accompanied with Mr. Vincent, who is a successful engineer. We were also able to get a visit from the educational side, that is Mr. Nathan, who has been Cheng Yu's teacher for a very long time. And we are honored to have the Minister of Education, Miss Tina, with us today. I think by this time you have a view of what this topic is all about. The post on his Instagram was said to say, a formal education is less and it cannot, I'm so sorry. Formal education is not the only way to succeed. So I would like to hear from Mr. Cheng Yu and brief us about the post that he made.
Thank you, Miss Ruth. Hi everyone. As you all have seen through my latest Instagram post, I have posted that my parents are against my dream. My purpose in posting this story is I do not understand why many people consider tertiary education as being the only way to a successful life. Is chasing one's dreams considered as a wrong thing? Let me explain my dream in detail. My dream is to become a full-time YouTuber. I want to travel around the world, make blogs, and broaden my knowledge about the world, learn new things, make new friends, and discover their unique cultures. Experience and stories cannot be gained in a classroom. Don't any of you agree with me? Why so many people define people who achieve their degrees, masters, and PhD as people who are successful in life? People like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs did not have any tertiary education, yet they make so much money in the industry. I want someone to agree with me that people do not necessarily need tertiary education to be successful in life.
I see where you come from, Mr. Cheng Yu. On the post, you mentioned Mr. Sang Fong as an example of a person who has succeeded without tertiary education. Mr. Sang Fong, would you mind telling us your thoughts on the post that was made?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ruth. Hi, good morning to all. Previously, I have saw the post that wrote by Chang Yu online before because some of my friends sent me that. And what do I think is tertiary education is not necessary at all. Before I explain further about my opinion, what's actually the purpose of having tertiary education? Is it really necessary for everyone's life, or it is a must for the teenagers, which is around 18 years old, must go to the college or university? In my opinion, nowadays the presence of tertiary education is for those who want to work for someone else, work for a company for their life. By getting a certificate from the college, you mostly can get a stable life with low risk because certificate is just an insurance for your future. It is really for those who want to work for others people in a consistent basis. Every day do the same thing like wake up, bath, eat, work, lunch, work, dinner, sleep. That's all for their life. Sometimes they even need to do overtime work. If this is the life that the people pray for, yeah, just go ahead and just get a certificate. You will be the best worker for the best boss outside. And you can work for my company as well. You can come to my company. On the other hand, if someone who like Cheng Yu, he has his dream and he is actually know what he really wants compared to many people, including majority of the adult outside, and he just want to pursue his dreams while keep improving on his profession as a YouTuber, as he said in his words. So instead of learning something that is unnecessary, why not just let Cheng Yu chase for his dreams? You know, the biggest advantage for teenagers around 18 to 20 years old is nothing. They have nothing to lose and no need to hold back for anything. And they have no risk at all since they have no any financial authority and need to bear their family living expenses. So they have lower risk compared to the adults. What he is going to do is to do self-improvement on his career. Therefore, I will advocate with Cheng Yu's plan of pursuing what he wants instead of what other people's dreams.
Okay, hold on. We understand, Mr. Singfong, that we get it. You're a successful entrepreneur. You have so much cash. You didn't have to do tertiary education, but how can you guarantee the same thing for Chengyu? You know, this world has only one Steve Jobs, one Bill Gates, and one Mark Zuckerberg. You can't just turn someone into something they are not. Your pathway that you're mentioning right now is full of risks and lots of dangerous things. And what if something happens to him? No one would ever be responsible for, well, his life. Um, and honestly, I think knowledge, there's one reason why knowledge is called light. Education, to me at least, is the only pathway that can actually guarantee success.
As Mrs. Uzma said, I understand what you mean and why you would say something like that. Because as a parent, this is a trigger matter because you work so hard to earn that money, to earn that school fees, to make sure that he gets the best of the best. But going back and forth, why don't we hear from a person who actually succeeded through formal education? Mr. Vincent, I would like to welcome you.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Ruth. I do agree with Mrs. Usma's opinion here. I think that education is important for our future, especially when trying to get a job. Personally, I'm someone who has received high education, and I can say for sure how much it helps me in my current job. A lot of jobs nowadays requires you to have at least completed tertiary education, like engineer and accountant. I'm an engineer myself. I wouldn't be able to land myself on this job, no matter how talented I am, without the certificate to show the proof. Just as Mr. Swoops says, jobs like this are more stable and will be able to earn quite a lot every month. There are a lot of chances for promotion as well if you perform well. However, if you did not receive any tertiary education, there's a high chance that you would not be able to be promoted even if you perform well. There are policies that doesn't allow people with the right qualification to get a high position in the company. While I do understand Cheng Yu's intention to explore the world and pursue his dream, I think it is too risky for him to do so. His dream felt too idealistic. From what I've seen, jobs like his are highly unstable and not too long lasting. Most of the time, they'll be popular for a short period and get forgotten the moment the trend is over. If they don't manage to keep up with the trend or come up with new ideas themselves, they will just be eliminated from the industry. It is unrealistic to think that one can make a living for a long time with this job, but rather just a fleeting dreams of theirs. Therefore, I would recommend Cheng Yu against his dream and listen to Mrs. Usma. It's extremely important to receive tertiary education.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. I believe with the proof that you've given us and that you've told us, I understand why you would agree with Mrs. Uzma, because most parents feel that it's a risk to just let their kid not go to get formal education. So I would like to hear from Mr. Nathan, who has watched Cheng Yu grow in the classroom, and tell us what are his thoughts. Would he support him?
Thank you, Miss Lu. So, hi, I'm Nathan, and as someone who that involved in education field, as someone who has taught Chen for 4 years now, I can say that he is a good student and he has put a lot of effort in studying. So, and he's known what he want to do. So, if he put more effort into what he want to achieve, he can achieve it, and even that is hard. So, and I do believe in Chen Yu that he loves to study. When he is free, he will read some book or search some additional information or knowledge to improve himself. But for my recommendation for Chen Yu, I support him to chase for her dream, his dream. Or to tertiary study is important. When a person has a strong mind on the thing he want to do, they can achieve it when there is one in their life, just like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs. They are all talent who has a strong mind on his dream, and they are be able to success and no need to further more their study. I think that Chen Yu can be like one of them who have a full mind on his how to make his dream come true. So Chen Yu, for my advice, just go to do what you want to do. Hope that his can accomplish with his dream.
Thank you, Mr. Nathan. It's very, very good to hear that this is coming, especially from a person who has watched Cheng Yu grow into the person he has become today. And we're able to see that there are two sides of the story. We have a path of a person who has succeeded with formal education, and we also have a path of a person who has succeeded without any formal education. So it's down in the middle, and I would really like to let the Minister of Education to speak about this matter and give us her thoughts. Ms. Tina, please welcome.
Thank you so much. Based on the situation, I would like to firstly explain our education system. The most important role of our education system is to build a brighter future for our nation's students as professionals and as citizens, which hinges on its ability to providing students with the skills to obtain well-paying and valued careers. It's our responsibility to invest in programs preparing students with the skills necessary to keep our economy strong and our workforce competitive. In doing so, the Congress will equip our nation's educators with the resources they need to serve the population. However, I would like to give this an example for those who underwent tertiary education and hear their view about it. Here with me is one of the most brilliant engineers in the country, Mr. Vincent. I would like him to elaborate on how our tertiary education has helped him to succeed in life.
Sure, Ms. Tina. As I've said before, tertiary education is extremely important for us. First, tertiary education can help us to instill important skills that are necessary to survive in this current society, like communication skills as well as critical thinking skills. University is designed to help students at developing skills like this. Other than that, it also provides the student opportunity to meet like-minded individuals and be able to exchange ideas, work together, and come up with new ideas. As I have mentioned before, receiving tertiary education can open new and unexpected opportunity. There are many jobs that requires high qualification, like doctor or a pilot. Job like this require specific skills and tertiary education are necessary to acquire them. It provides opportunity to acquire higher level of interpretation, knowledge, and hands-on skills. Landing on these jobs are more realistic as it provides a more stable lifestyle and can lead to a better quality of life.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. It is true, education does have a lot of its advantages, but everything has a downside. So, Mr. Sengfong, would you do the honors to tell us why you didn't use formal education as the pathway to your success?
What formal education like college and school do is like removing the people's creativity. They are training workers, and the workers can just help the entrepreneur to chase the entrepreneur's dreams. It is a jail to slow down the learning speed of the students. They want the students to fix in the progress and try to let them get used with the consistent life basis and momentum, killing the entrepreneurship day by day. Is someone who is disciplined enough and he or she has good self-learning skills, especially in this era which knowledge is not hard to obtain anymore because of the internet. They should just learn by themselves and set every milestone for their progress. They maybe can learn a skill for a few months or a year, make the skills to the professional level, and just sell the skill for the rest of their life and keep improving by learning new skills such as demanding skills throughout the way. I can guarantee that this plan is definitely useful for the people who has good self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-learning skills because they know what they are doing instead of the students who study hard for no any purposes. That's all from my opinion and on the great part of going tertiary education and also the advantage of doing your own teacher to make your learning plan individually because you are the one who know yourself the most. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sengfong. I think at this point we've heard the advantages and disadvantages. Mrs. Uzma, do you have any different thoughts on the matter now after hearing both sides of the story?
Well, Miss Ruth, I think now that I've heard both sides of the story, I do see why people take this pathway. I see the advantages to not going for tertiary education and not going for college or university. But as a parent, I still feel like it's dangerous and I still feel like things might happen like failures because life is quite evident with that. Failures, what if he loses his money? What if something happens? Then who's going to really take over and be the burden to, solve the problem?
Well, Miss Uzma, these are teenagers. They grow to become different people, and for them to grow, they have to go through these challenges. I can understand why you're so worried, but in the end of the day, you are going to have to let go of Cheng Yu to chase his dreams.
If I'm unable to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year 2022, I will go back to college and finish my tertiary education. Is this plan good for you?
Okay, as long as you're willing to take the risk and be creative with what you are going to do in the future, then do what you gotta do.
After listening to both sides speaking about success and formal education and non-formal education, it would only be the right thing to do to let the Minister of Education brief us and just enlighten us about the whole situation.
I believe that not only the education system needs to change, but also people's mindset. We will make a change in that on the tertiary education structure in the future, like preparing more specialized skills training for teenagers to get into their dream careers and invest in the talent sector by opening more education facilities to help the students enhance on their talents and get the best out of it. If someone wants to pursue a different career and a different strategy in life to succeed, then it's okay. And also spread awareness to the parents that not only education can be the key to success, but the skills of the children and their talents can also lead to their road of success once supported. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you did not hear it from me. You heard it straight from the Minister of Education's mouth. So now I would like to welcome any questions. Does anyone have any questions? If not, then I would like to conclude. Okay. For what purpose we should get education, for degrees or for grades or for knowledge we get while studying, which is more important? I would like to give this question to the Minister of Education.
Thank you. The question states, for what purpose we should get education, for degree or for grades or for knowledge we get while studying, which is more important? Oh, actually, what is more important when we're giving the tertiary education to the students is for you to get the basic skills in life, the skills to get you through life and to succeed. By us providing tertiary education, we are just programming you, like we are just preparing you to become successful citizens and those who can benefit the society back. So basically, you do not need to focus on the grades more, focus on the skills more. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that answered your question. Are there any more questions? If not, this was one of the most exciting and challenging episodes that I have ever hosted. I am very honored to have all of you here. Thank you so much for participating. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember to tune in every Tuesdays and Fridays for more exciting episodes like this. Don't forget to stay home, stay safe, and take care, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the feedback, and as usual, we'll talk about the improvements first. Let's talk about the introduction first. I thought the introduction was probably the weakest part because, okay, number one, I feel maybe if we change the placement a little bit, maybe if we were to introduce the topic first and give like a brief definition or introduction of the topic first, then we move on to the speakers, it would make more sense, I feel, because the flow then would be, we introduce the topic, and then they kind of know how each speaker falls under each of the topic rather than, okay, here's a speaker, and then they have to guess what the topic and how they correlate with one another. I think that would make sense a bit more in terms of the flow and also the organization. Okay, and after that, some speakers, you have to be a bit careful during the part because your camera is turned on like all the time. So you have to make sure whatever you're doing, okay, is here towards the audience. Like for example, Yuan Meng, there was one part that you were yawning so obviously, like in the beginning. Okay, I understand it's in the morning, maybe it's tiring to keep like a straight face. If you need to yawn or whatever, it's all right. Turn off your cam for about a second or two and then turn it on again. I know that yawn is very innocent. You were just in the moment. But things like this can affect the members, and it can also affect the audience as well. If let's say this is an actual symposium or forum with actual audience. So if you need to have that, turn off for a second and then turn it on. I don't think people will question it. They might just think, oh, it's some kind of connection issues, and now you're back. Okay, and there were also moments where some speakers, again, Yuan Meng and Tina, I think you were probably playing on your phone perhaps. So eyes up here because we want to give like more support to your friends. And there were also a few moments where I think, again, Yuan Meng, we probably need to work a bit more on the intonation because most of the part you sounded like you were referring to the script too much. Okay, and it's a shame because everyone I thought did a good job in terms of their intonation. But when we go to your part, it was quite obvious that you were referring to the script. But I'm not saying that you are the only one that was referring to the script. I think the others were too, but they at least had that intonation. Like for example, Cheng Yu, I could tell at a few moments you were referring, but it did not sound like very obvious, which is fine because that's what we want. We do not want it to sound like 100% you are reading the script. and make sure pronunciation is clear when you mention famous names, because some of you drop famous names earlier. Make sure the pronunciation is clear, because these are names that are familiar to the audience. It can decrease your credibility a little bit if you do not pronounce all of those people's names correctly. Okay, and okay, moderator, I'll talk about you after this, Ruth. But as a whole presentation, I thought this is a very good symposium because the content. Okay, content, I thought you provided great point of view from different speakers. And all ethos, logos, and pathos, they were present. They were not overdone, especially the pathos. You did not do too much of it. I think you just gave enough of the feelings from the discussion. I did sense, for example, Sanfong, I think you played your character very well. Uzma, there were a couple of parts that you did sound concerned, which is very good, and it was quite convincing to the discussion. And when it comes to the organization, like I said, I think the only weak part is the introduction. After that, I thought the whole thing was very good. Every question was organized properly, and I really enjoyed the closure or the conclusion. Everyone was able to provide their concluding statement, and you did not provide like a forced concluding statement. Like, for example, Uzma and Cheng Yu, I like your interaction at the end where you were kind of like compromising on the situation. You did not go the route where the mom suddenly believes that this is good. And I like that because it did not sound forced. It sounds believable. Obviously, the mom is still going to be a little bit, concerned. And that's okay because that's how it is in real life. So I thought the closure was very good to allow everyone to kind of provide their point of view on how we should move forward with this discussion. So content-wise, I thought there was a good balance between each of the speaker, and every speaker was utilized properly in terms of their role. Okay, in terms of delivery, I think most of you did very, very well. You had great intonation. There are a couple of parts where I think the intonation was a little bit weaker, but it's fine because 80-90% of the part, it was great. And your discussion sounded authentic, and that's what we want. It actually sounded like people were discussing with one another. And I think that's probably due to excellent characterization by a lot of speakers. Like, for example, Sangfong, your character sound like he was a bit cynical, a bit cynical at a few parts, which was believable. And I think it fits the character. Uzma, I thought your part was a bit skeptical as a mom, concerned a little bit. It comes across that way, which is believable. And and I also sense Tina, you were also, in my opinion, did a good job because you were quite firm, quite confident in your delivery. And this is what we kind of expect when someone is a minister. So I thought the characterization part was very good, and it adds a lot of realism to the discussion. So I think that part was very, very good. And your my favorite part of your discussion was how dynamic the discussion is. You had like minor interaction between speakers, which is great. But what I like best is how you connect speaker A, what they say, with what speaker B is gonna say after this. So basically what you did was you were basically using whatever the last speaker say to continue with what the next speaker has to say. So everyone's discussion was continued or was connected to one another, which I know a very difficult task to do, but you managed to connect most of the parts of the discussion, making it sound very believable, making it sound it's connected to every single part. And that's probably my favorite part of your whole presentation. Everyone did well with the delivery, and the script organization was also very good because it flowed really, really well. So delivery, I thought it was very dynamic, minimal speaker to speaker interaction. But since the points, they were all connected, it was like one straight route to conclusion. I thought it was brilliant. Okay, moving on to Ruth as the moderator. In the beginning, you were a bit anxious, I feel. I'm not sure if you were nervous about the lagging or something else. Maybe it's in the morning. But in both introductions, like the one that we did earlier and also this one, you started a little bit in the beginning. Okay, but after that, I thought you were excellent. As the moderator, you had great intonation. And what I like about your role as the moderator, two things. Okay, number one, you provided like a segue from one part to the next part. Like let's say we have speaker A, you kind of summarize and you manage to connect whatever the last speaker said with the next question. I thought that was brilliant because that's what we want out of the discussion like this, because everything is connected very, very well. And not only the words and the script, you are also delivering it in a way that's very empathetic. Like, for example, in the beginning, when Uzma first interrupted the discussion and you were kind of like empathetic after she spoke. I thought that was great as well, because this is what a moderator should do. You were supposed to listen and understand whatever the speakers were conversing about. So I thought you did a very good job as the moderator. You sounded empathetic, you sounded approachable, you sounded very friendly, and it goes with the format of the discussion as well, because of course this is a little bit nitpicking, but I'm gonna provide more marks to that as well, because when we talk about your morning show or morning discussion, usually the moderators or the hosts are going to sound like what you sounded like. Very friendly, very approachable, because if this happens in the morning, you should sound like that to invite people to listen to a morning discussion. So overall, I thought your delivery was very brilliant. It was very good, but you were not the only one that was fantastic. I thought everyone carried their weight properly, making this a very good presentation. So overall, I thought there were a couple of parts that needs polish in terms of intonation, but it was not a big deal in my opinion, because a majority of the discussion, it was very believable. And the only weak part is probably the introduction, which says a lot, because after the introduction, everything was so well done. So good job. Overall, I thought all of you 7 did a fantastic job. I was worried this could have been a chaotic discussion because you had so many presenters, but you managed the discussion so well. It was so believable. All of you did a very good job. You should all feel proud. Okay, congratulations. You did a very good job today. All right, okay, congratulations. Good job, everyone.
Say?
Mm.
Just real quick before we move on to the next group, may I please request an early leave? I'm going to be traveling later and I'm exhausted. I need to rest. Is that okay?
Can. If let's say I forgot to give attendance, just text me later, all right?
Okay, all right. Okay. I'll text you.
Have a safe journey. Yeah, if I forgot to give attendance, all right?
Okay, don't forget, sir.
Okay, yeah, I'll try. I think I will remember. It's 30 minutes from now. No worries.
Okay, thank you. Right. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, thank you everyone from Group B. Okay, now let's move on to the last group for today, which is Group F. Okay, Group F, are you ready? I think Sada was excited. You were turning on your cam from even before.
So there was like some kind of issue, like my fingers were.
No, it's okay. I was just kidding. All right. You have how many members? 6. Was it? 6 or
Sir,
5?
it's 5.
5. All right. Okay, 5. Yeah. So Sadar and Jamil is here. What about Nihat, Mohib, and also Ishwar? Okay, Nihat is here. Okay. All right. So everyone is present. Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you may begin. All the best with your presentation. Again, you have 15 to 20 minutes you may begin with your presentation right now.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time on this Friday morning to listen to our symposium, which is about how drugs affect people. My name is Ishwar Dev, and I will be the moderator for this event. Our goal today, no matter your perspective on drugs, is for you to learn something from the symposium. Perhaps a new idea, a fresh perspective, or a change in paradigm so that you become more aware of the problem. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect from this symposium. I'll take a few moments to briefly introduce the panelists and tell a little bit about their background. I'll kick off the conversation with drugs. And then the second half of our time today, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you've been thinking about to help you understand
Is Ishwar lagging?
Come Nihid. Nihid was to take me to this. We can understand why he did drugs use of this.
Ishwar, I think you were lagging. Do you want to restart or do you want to continue from here? Ishwar, can you hear us?
Sir, is it okay if we restart?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should restart because I think most of the parts earlier I couldn't hear. Okay, let's have you restart your Teams as well, and then we'll continue with your presentation. Okay, let's do that now, Ishwar.
Okay. That
Okay, let's wait for Ishwar to rejoin, and also Sadar.
Sir, I'm here. I just turned off the camera.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Okay. Are we back? Ishwar, are you back?
Sir, Ishwar said he needs a few minutes.
Few minutes. All right.
Yes, sir, I'm okay. I'm okay now.
Okay now. All right.
Yes, sir, can you hear me?
Yes. Do you want to speak? Tell me one sentence. Let's see if it's still lagging.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time on this Friday morning to listen to a symposium, which is about how drugs affect people. Is it okay, sir?
Yeah, I think it should be fine. All right. So if it's still lagging after this, I will do what I told the other group earlier. If it's still lagging, the other speakers, turn off your camera first and only turn it on when it's time for you to speak. If any of the members are still lagging, all right?
Okay.
Okay. So let's restart with your presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time on this Friday morning to listen to our symposium, which is about how drugs affect people. My name is Ishwar Dev, and I'll be the moderator for this event. Our goal today, no matter your perspective on drugs, is for you to learn something from the symposium. Perhaps a new idea, a fresh perspective, or a change in paradigm so that you become more aware of the problem. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect from today's symposium. We'll take a few moments to briefly introduce the panelists and tell you a little bit about their background. I'll kick off the conversation by asking questions on their views on drugs, and then the second half of our time today, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you've been thinking about to help you understand and become more aware of the problem. Let's get started with the panel introductions. Firstly, I would like to welcome Nihed. Nihed was a person who used to take drugs, and by bringing him into this discussion, we can understand why he did drugs and his experience on doing drugs.
Nihat, we cannot hear you.
Sir, can you hear me now?
Yes, let's restart your part.
Since many years, we have been having problems with teenagers getting addicted to drugs at a very young age. This is due to stress from schoolwork and university's assignments. Students tend to start smoking and snorting because it gives them the chills and makes them feel stress-free, while other teenagers start doing drugs because it makes them look cool. The age of half of all new drug users is under the age of 18. The most important factors is adolescent drug usage is experimentation. On the other hand, is part of life. And just because of a youngster has tried drugs or alcohol doesn't indicate they will have become addicted. It's more essential to figure out why certain teenagers feel compelled to experiment in the first place. The following are some of the common causes of adolescent drug use: curiosity, stress due to pressure, a wish to go away. The majority of people who have been addicted began using drugs before the age of 21. A teen's drug use may be detected in a variety of ways. It may be tough to distinguish between the aches and pains of puberty and real drugs usage, but parents should take time to initiative and speak of their adolescent to find out what's going on. The following are some of the frequent symptoms of adolescent drug use. Eyes swollen with blood for no apparent reason. You start laughing. Interest in activities has waned. Um, your personality changes, obviously, and a lot of other stuff occur.
If parents think that their children are using drugs, it is up to them to start discussion. When parents think that their children is taking drugs, out of every 5 parents does nothing to stop it. Now I'd like to give Jamil the opportunity to speak about the content.
Thank you, Nihad. The first time I found about Nihad's drug abuse problem was when Nihad's mom showed me a pack of meth, and when I asked her where she got it from, she said that she found it in Nihad's trouser pocket. I was very shocked and had literally nothing to say. I never really expected my son to be doing drugs. I was fuming and I was really upset with Nihad. I felt like sending him away from the family and not talking to him for the rest of my life. Those were my initial reactions.
Thank you, Jamil and Nihid, for those introductions and experience on drugs. Next, I would like to welcome our next panelist is Dr. Sardar. Dr. Sardar has many years of experience treating people of taking drugs. Our next panelist is Mr. Many years of experience trying to get rid of drugs on the streets. He is essentially making the streets a safer place for all of us. Nihed, would you consider yourself a drug addict, and what are your thoughts about being a drug addict?
Well, at first I used to take drugs, but dealing with drug use was not easy. It takes time to overcome this addiction. But the question we should ask ourselves is that we ready to destroy our future. That's me as it was fine at first. And after that, not I kept doing things all the time, becoming worse. Many people don't understand why or how people are becoming addicted to drugs. They mistakenly think that those who use drugs lack moral principles, or they just can just stop the drug use just by using drugs. But no, after getting the feeling of high for the first time, chances of doing that drug again is 95%. And you end up saying that I'm addicted. I can quit any time, but that is basically impossible. So you realize that you're addicted. Now that's when the real exam begins. That addiction definitely change the way you menu from eating hard. Your brain will be controlled by the drugs that you use. As a person continues doing drugs, the brain adapts by reducing the ability of cells in the reward circuit to respond to it. This reduces the highness that the highness that the person is feeling compared to the high that they felt when they're taking the drugs. This is an effect known as tolerance. So this makes us go and find more drugs to take so we can experience the same high that we wanted to feel. So by continuing like this, it will change you. It will cause you the changes in brain, such as making you forgetful. You will forget anything. You will be like you'll hold your hand and you'll hold the phone on your hand and you'll be like, "Where's my phone?" You just be so forgetful. It makes you stress, and once the feeling is over, your behavior changes automatically. You become dangerous around your siblings and your family members. A drug doesn't have to be illegal to cause this effect. People can be addicted to alcohol, nicotine, even prescription drugs such as Stilnox. Stilnox is a drug used for it's a sleeping pill. People usually take to sleep, but after 30 minutes, it messes your brain. You start experiencing um, like huge bumps on on the ground. You just see like mountains on the ground. It just messes your head when you take this sleeping pill and other drugs. The longer you're addicted to this danger, it becomes the longer you're addicted to this kinds of drug, then you need to get support from your family and seek help. All right, thank you. Mohit, I would like to give you a chance to speak.
The next question goes out to Dr. Sardar. Dr. Sardar, is it true that drugs quadruple the risk of sudden cardiac death or sudden heart attacks? What are your comments on that?
Ishwar, yes, it is true that taking drugs increase the rate of sudden cardiac death. Sudden cardiac death is sudden, unexpected, death caused by the heart misfunctioning. It is responsible for half of the diseases that occur in heart. Most cases of SCD are related to undetected cardiovascular diseases. In the younger population, SCD is often due to congenital heart diseases, while in older people, 35 years or older, the cause is more often related to coronary artery diseases. Other causes can also be included as recreational drug abuse and taking drugs that are pro-arrhythmic that may increase the risk of having life-threatening arrhythmias.
Thank you, Doctor. Before this presentation, relaxing. Nobody knew that he smoked drugs because nobody knew that he smoked weed because he was embarrassed and he just didn't want to tell anyone. He was living the good life, as he said. He was living the good life. And until some time, no matter how many joints he smoked, he couldn't feel high. Now this is when the problem started for Nihat. So soon later, he started looking for a dealer, but this time he wasn't buying weed. He was focusing more on meth and cocaine, as this would make him feel happy and strong. But what he didn't know was that the drugs was controlling him. Each day that passed, he was becoming more addicted, and after some time, feeling almost invincible, he knew he was going to get caught. He couldn't stop smoking because one day without it would feel like he would feel empty, exhausted, paranoid, or sometimes even he would hear strange voices inside his head. That was how Nihed became a drug addict. Nihed, would you tell us how being a drug addict affected your daily routine?
Yes, uh, drugs affected me in many ways. First, I started with the weed, but when the weed I was smoking it daily. Now I couldn't feel the highness anymore, so I started going to other drugs. Like I started with meth, and then I went to cocaine. So that's when these drugs started messing my head. So it kept making me forgetful. I'd be angry with my siblings, my friends. I wouldn't concentrate on anything. So it actually messed my life, and it made me become worse. So that's it.
Thank you, Nihed. Um, this next question goes out to Nihed's father, Mr. Jamil. As you said before, the first time you found out about Nihed's drug abuse problem was when his mother found a pack of meth in his trouser pocket. What were your initial reactions and feelings about this?
And I found out that my son is taking all kinds of drugs. He used to be a hot-headed child at home. He used to bully his siblings and beat them over any little thing. And then I started wondering what's going on with this child, because before he wasn't like this. Why all of a sudden his attitude is changing and he's beating his little siblings for no reason, over food as well. So I asked his mom what's going on with this child, and then she told me that she found drugs in his pocket. So then, as I said, I was very, very angry, and I never knew what to do. I wanted to literally whack him and send him far away from my family, because he was bringing danger to my other kids as well. So I just gave him some more time to change, and I thought everything will become better, but nothing was changing, and he just kept going just the way he was. So those were my initial reactions to when I found out when about Nihad is taking drugs.
Thank you, Mr. Jamil. I understand how that can make you feel shocked, angry, and disappointed. But how do you cope knowing that your son is a drug addict? And in what ways have you tried to help him get off of drugs?
I remember when I was a kid, I used to smoke cigarettes, and then one day my dad smelled the smell of cigarettes and then asked me that what is this smell? And then I was very scared to tell him because I was 11 years old. So I told him that it was one of the uncles that was smoking next to me, and then maybe the smell just came on to me. Until one day he caught me red handed with my friends, and I was smoking. Literally, he caught me with a cigarette in my mouth. And my dad whacked me really bad, and after that day I never touched cigarettes again, because he told me that all these things are damaging your body and you are reducing your lifespan. I never wanted to beat Nihad because it was not worth it. He would get angry and do some more drugs later that day. Making a child understand the harms and trying to change his path would be by understanding their situation and helping them out rather than hitting them. For me, if a child is on the wrong, you do not hit them, just talk to them and hopefully they will understand. I believe Nihad has stopped most of the drugs and is now living a healthy and happy life. I would say that our relationship became stronger, and I feel like I can trust him after he stopped taking drugs.
That's nice to hear, Mr. Jamil. I agree with you about the part where you said you talked to him instead of hitting him when you found out about his drug problem. In my opinion, I feel like it's a better thing to do. Okay, the next question goes out to Mr. Mohib. Mr. Mohib, what is the police department doing to help get rid of drugs on the streets?
First of all, hello everyone. I am Lieutenant Moheb representing the 99 precinct. So basically, Mr. Ishwadar, starting off, police services continue to play an important role, restricting the availability of illicit drugs but increasing, emphasizing, and it needs to be given a reducing demand, including more available and more effective preventive drug education in schools. Police also need to work with harm reduction approaches devised to reduce the negative consequences of drug use for those who continue to use illicit drugs such as Nihid, who at one point stopped. The importance of a multi-sectoral approach operating at both national and local levels with the objective of reducing drug-related crime, reducing the acceptability and availability of illicit drugs and reducing the harmful consequences of them as well. Harm reduction requires a commitment for close collaboration between police and drug treatment services to maximize the effectiveness of needle exchange schemes and other harm reduction approaches. And as far as I'm concerned, I think Dr. Siddhar over here, would also agree with me upon this.
Thank you, Mohib. I'm pretty sure the police force is doing everything they can to help get rid of drugs from the streets. The next question goes out to Dr. Sardar. Dr. Sardar, what happens to a person after the effects of drugs wear off?
Uh, issue as drugs are processed and eliminated from a person, the effects the person faces as they experience or come down. The after effects vary depending on what type of drugs they were using. They can be affected mentally or physically. They commonly included depression. They can face insomnia, sleepiness, and extreme tiredness. Other symptoms can also include headaches and loss of appetite. If you stop taking drugs or try to reduce the amount of drugs that you are taking, you can experience withdrawal symptoms. These can be physically and mentally unpleasant and may include tiredness, hunger, depression, being irritable, aggression, anxiety, and cravings for the drugs even more than before.
Thank you, Dr. Sardar, for explaining everything in detail. Lastly, Nihid, do you have any advice to give people who are taking drugs?
If I had known about this back then, I would have stopped taking drugs a lot. And it really opened my eyes to the risks. It really does help to know the risks.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen, and thank you to all the panelists who were here to share their experiences and help us clarify some things about drug abuse. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
All right, I have one question. What is your view on legalizing certain drugs like marijuana, for example, for medicinal purposes? Anyone has any view on this?
Yes, the medical purposes of weed is that weed can cure something called a tumor, a head tumor, I think, on the head. It usually comes like a meat inside your brain. So actually, what it does is weed is the only medicine that solves that issue. It makes that tumor goes down. It crunches and it doesn't become big. But that is the only medical purposes of weed that most of the people use in other countries, especially for the tumor, the head tumor.
And I would like to add up that basically in certain states in the United States, for example, as marijuana or weed are actually not restricted and they're allowed to be used for medical purposes only. The thing is that, such as Nihid added up with tumor and all, other health and mental addiction, like for example, mental addictions and health concerns, people do use marijuana as a health priority. And basically, just for example, people back here in Pakistan, certain doctors recommend red wine for heart patients. So, for a health based concern, doctors can actually, it is legal for people to use it under certain circumstances. And it only should be used under those circumstances.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Do you need to summarize anything else for this symposium?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's move on to the feedback. All right, so there's a couple of things that we have to say. Let's move on with the improvements and the negative ones first. Okay, first of all, the content. Organization is a bit confusing. And that part is due to a lot of different things. Okay, one of it, when I noticed, there were a couple of moments where a speaker said, okay, this speaker is going to say something. But when we move on to the moderator move on to another speaker. So there was a lot of confusing parts in terms of the organization. Like, for example, I remember clearly, like Nihat was mentioning something when he was closing his part, and he was saying that Muhib could have answered more. But the moment we move on to you, Iswar, you proceeded to ask question to Sadar, which was a bit confusing. Like if let's say the previous speaker was saying, okay, this speaker can say something more about this, and then another speaker was given chance to speak after that, it can be very difficult to follow for a lot of audience. So organization, I thought, was quite poor in that sense. But I'll get to that again after this because there were other things that are contributing to the organization problems. There was also a couple of issues where formality is affected. Like you use a lot of wheat, the term wheat a lot throughout the discussion. A couple of you use that. Do not use wheat because wheat is an informal term. We always have to use marijuana because that's the more formal term. Wheat is usually informal or it's a bit of a street name. We do not use it in a formal discussions like this. And it's not just the word wheat. There were a couple more like you use the word kick it off in the beginning. I think you use this is Ishwar, and I think Jamil used the word he was whack or he wanted to whack his son. So a lot of informal words were used, kind of decreasing overall formality of the whole group. Okay, and for the credibility, I thought it was good, but Nihat, be a little bit careful with your answers because when it comes to the relationship between marijuana and tumor, marijuana does not really cure tumor. It's not the solution. It just slows down the progression of tumor. So it's not medicine to cure tumor. Tumor, we don't really have a medicine, if I'm not mistaken. It just slows down the progression of the tumor. So we are basically slowing down your rate of fatality or whatever if you have, let's say, head tumor or any tumor. So it does not cure it, it just slows it down. So be careful a bit with the choice of words during the Q&A. Your pathos as a group, I thought it was quite poor in a lot of parts because it was not very persuasive. There were a couple of moments I thought some speakers did a very good job, but they have such a small role. Like, for example, Sadar and Muhib, I think you did a great job in terms of delivery, but unfortunately, you had such a small role in the speaking, and the other speakers, I think, you were not able to step up to what Sadar and Muhib was presenting.
I would like to add, I'm sorry I'm cutting you off. So actually,
okay.
me and Sardar had two more parts remaining. I don't know why we got cut off. And all of a sudden, because of the time, I guess, because of the duration, like my part was in the end. Like there was one whole paragraph left. All of a sudden, the moderator just went down to the end. So we were pretty shocked, me and Sardar both.
Okay, so thank you for letting me know because I've noticed something was going on as well with that. Okay, before we talk about delivery, let's talk about everyone's delivery in general. I thought Nihat, you sounded like you were reading the script most of the time. It was very poor. And Jamil, I thought it was not bad. There were moments where you had intonation, but most of the time it was quite flat. And Ishwar, I thought as the moderator, the delivery was quite poor because you are the center of attention, but I'll talk about you specifically later. But with this in mind, because there's such a big difference in terms of delivery, okay, for your actual marks, I cannot give marks as a group because everyone performed differently. So I don't think it's fair for those who performed well in terms of their delivery. So in terms of your presentation elements and delivery, body language, everything, I will have to give individual marks because as I said earlier, Sadar and Muhib, I think you did very good job with your intonation, and I do not want to drag your marks down because of the group. So delivery wise, I'm going to give individual marks because everyone performed so differently. The performance was like very, very jarring, very different. I cannot give the same mark for the delivery. So I did notice there was a lot of issues with delivery. So I've decided here I'm gonna give different marks for delivery because I think it will be fair that way for those who actually perform and present it well. Yes, Anihat?
Actually, this group presentation, we first did our work individually and we made the script very well. So what happened now is that we messed up someplace and we started reading from somewhere else instead of the script. So that is why we actually messed up a lot of things here, and we weren't. I don't know what to say.
Okay, I think that's related with group coordination as well. Because I noticed there was a lot of issues with group coordination. So that probably factors in. And moving on to the moderator, Ishwar, there were a lot of moments that it was so clear you were zoning out. You were not here during the presentation. There was a lot of pauses where a speaker just finished his part. It took a couple of seconds for you to actually say something. And I did notice you were hesitant most of the parts when you were asking questions. So a lot of parts I think is on you as well as the moderator, because I did notice without even any of you telling me there's more parts, I did notice group coordination was poor. Organization was, I don't know, was not very good. And I think I'm not going to put it all on you, Ishwar, because I think this is a group work. We need to have group coordination. But most of it, I think it depends on you as the moderator, because your job here is basically to make sure the organization flows well. You have to be present throughout the whole presentation, because we cannot have the other speakers to like interrupt every moment when they say, hey, I'm supposed to speak here. Okay, we cannot have them, interrupt every now and then. So for you, I think as a moderator, you did such a poor job managing everything, to the point that I feel most of the organization was onto you. And I don't want to like put a blame on a certain person, but it was noticeable that after each speaker has just spoken, you were zoning out, you were not there, you were not present. A lot of it, I think, comes down to you to make sure, the organization is better. But I don't think you were present during the presentation. So in a presentation like this, you have to be sure what's going on, what part was said. And a lot of times, I don't think you were here, which is a shame, because when your friends were presenting, I did notice your friends were actually trying to contribute more. They were actually listening, they were contributing. But for you, I think you did not do a good job. So there was a lot of organization issues as well here. So I think you need to be a bit more present during group presentation. Any types of group presentation, you have to be more present because a lot of it is kind of going back to you as well as the moderator.
So,
Okay. Yes, Jamil?
the real problem here was that we had Dev had prepared the script for everyone. He did his part for everyone. And to be honest, we were supposed to follow the script and everyone had to go through it. And when Dev had started, he started it normally and did his thing. But then the problem was that Nihad jumped to the report and started reading from the report. So Dev fairly got confused that where is he going and where am I? So then he had to start thinking about how to balance everyone and how to balance the whole thing. And then he started asking, but no, and there was no coordination here because people were just jumping from here to there. So we were all confused.
Okay. Okay, I understand.
So I don't know. Me and Ishwar did whatever we had to, but even Mohib, he tried his best. He was looking for his part, but then the part where everything just jumped to the report was very confusing for us as well.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. For the report, I'll talk about the report submission next week. But I want you to send me. Did you prepare the script? Do you have that?
Yes, we have.
Okay. I want you to submit your whole script in your report submission. I'll go through that again for the organization part to see where I can try to help you a little bit with the organization, with the content a little bit, so that I can help increase a little bit marks, because at the moment it's quite poor. So what I want you to do is submit the script so that I can try to justify providing a little bit more marks in terms of the organization. All right. So I'll go through the script again in full, and I'll decide which part I can kind of help you with, because at the moment, I'm not gonna lie, it's going to be quite low, but I want to help you a little bit. So send the script. I'll go through the script again for your group specifically, and I'll try to see where I can actually help you with the organization. All right. Okay.
Sir, actually was the problem occurred when we didn't do any single practice for our symposium. It was because we asked me, Nihit and Mohib, we asked in the group which we made on our WhatsApp, and we asked them, but Jamil said and Ishwa said, just go through the script 1 to 3 times and it will be good. They were like busy, they were busy about something. And this was also the reason that Nihit didn't know that we have to read it from script or from the report.
Okay, from what I can see here, it's not like one person's responsibility. I think everyone is kind of like equally responsible with everything.
I need to add one thing.
Yeah.
That we did everything work very good, but the thing is we never practiced. We never actually gone through this together and practice, because everybody was busy sometimes. So that's why we messed up right now. So I don't know what's gonna happen. If you give us maybe another chance, we do it again right now.
I cannot give you another chance because it will be unfair for the other students because of multiple reasons. You are also the last to present. So obviously I was going to expect some kind of rehearsal was to be done before you actually do this. Okay, I do not want anyone to blame one another because I feel, from what I can see, everyone is kind of like responsible in different ways. It's not one person that does not do this, does not do that. I feel everyone was responsible as a group, making sure or decreasing the group coordination in different ways, I feel. Okay, so the best that I can help you with is submit the script. I'll go through the script and I'll try to help a little bit on the marks for organization and everything once you have submitted the script. But unfortunately, I cannot allow you to represent. If it's the first group, then I would have been a bit more sympathetic. But since you are the last group, you had more time to prepare, so I cannot allow you to present one more time.
Yeah, one little thing to add up. I'm not going to claw on anyone's back, especially my group members. After all, they're my group members. So one thing, it's just to be fair, sir, I'm asking you. Say, for example, like me and Siddhar, we just got to speak once. Siddhar twice, maybe I got to speak once because my part had to come later on because of the time the moderator cut out or like the whole. So, sir, just to be fair, if you kindly look into this, because we didn't get a chance to present properly, especially me, because I just read one stuff and I was cut out.
I know. That's why I wanted you to send the script so that I can try to add a little bit more on the content and also on the delivery, because you did mention there were a couple of parts that was missing. So I'm going to decide based on the script, the content, does it improve your discussion? And that's one. And number two, your delivery as well. I'm going to give individual marks as well, because it's not just the script that's the problem. There's a lot of difference when it comes to the delivery or the presentation itself. That part I will also give individual marks, because I cannot give, okay, this is what the whole group deserves. Everyone gets the same mark. I don't think that's fair in this case. So send the script. Any additional points I'll address from the script so that I can try to help you a little bit more with the content. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, but for those who delivered well, do not worry. I think you did good in terms of the delivery. Is like I said, it's just a shame we did not get to hear more, because most of it sounds very unorganized, in my opinion. But I'll go through your script again. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, but that's it. I'll reserve first on my feedback. I'll go through again your script next week once you have submitted. Okay, so now, before we end the class, I think the attendance probably is closed by now. I'll give it manually for today and also for last week based on who was present. But I just want to use this last few minutes to remind you of your submission. So your submission is for your report writing is basically until, I think you can kind of read it there. It's until 29 October, which is next week, Friday. Make sure you submit your group assignment report here. Only the group leader will submit the symposium report. You can look at the sample and everything under this folder if you're not sure what it is or how to do it. And for group F, do include additional part for your script because I want to go through your script again so that I can try to help bump your marks a little bit in the missing parts and the organization and other places. So group F, a bit different. I want you to add additional parts, which is the whole script that you have planned for your presentation so that I can try to help you a little bit with your evaluation. Okay, but the rest, you just follow the standard format that is given because the rest, I don't think there's a lot of issues in terms of scripting and everything. Group F, I want you to provide your full script. Do not skip anything and make sure everyone checks on the script. Make sure everyone's part is there so that I can provide a more fair marks for your presentation marks. Okay, so this is your deadline by next week, Friday. Okay, for your attendance today, I'm pretty sure it's close because we are 5 minutes past 12. So I will give your attendance manually after this, and I will give your attendance for last week as well manually after this. So for today, I would like to thank you for all of your effort for the past 12 weeks. It's been a joy being with you for this module. And since this is the last class, I also would like to apologize if I've said anything a bit rude or if I'm a bit more, if I'm a bit more blunt with my comments or whatever, I'm sorry. But all the best for your third semester. I'll try to finish all of your marking in 2 weeks' time so that you can check all of your marks almost immediately. Maybe in 2 weeks or maximum 3 weeks. Everything will be ready on Moodle latest in 3 weeks. So for today, I'll dismiss all of you here first. Again, thank you for all of your effort for the past 12 weeks. And I would like to apologize if I've said anything too blunt or too hurtful throughout the 12 weeks. Good job, everyone. Congratulations for finishing this module. But you have one more assignment, which is due next week. So get started on that. But for today, I'll dismiss all of you here first. All the best for your third semester.
Sir, you will give attendance manual by yourself?
Yeah, I'll give because it's already closed. Yeah, it's already closed. So okay. I'll give it manually.
Thank you, sir. So
You're
can
welcome.
we go?
Yes. So all of you may leave first. Have a good day. All the best for your third semester. May you are able to perform well in the next semester. Okay, great job, everyone. Okay, see you when I see you, and I might pop up here and there just to remind you for your co-curricular study submission in the third semester. So for now, I'll dismiss all of you here first. Have a good day. Enjoy your break next week-ish, and all the best for your exam if you have it. I'll see you all very, very soon.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, have a good day. All the best for your third semester.
Sir? If you're free after this, I need to talk to you about my attendance.
Attendance here or personally, Muhib?
Personally, sir, if it's okay.
Okay. So I'll call you after we end this meeting.